don't either. Yeah.
It was Monster Mash. Graveyard Smash. I don't remember the words to that. I think that was one of the more popular Halloween songs. But
Yeah.
Welcome back, folks.
Welcome to Vigilantly Orthodox episode 7.
Number 7.
It's a good number.
7, yeah.
Mhm.
Lots of esoteric stuff with 7.
It's true.
It's a good number in Christianity too, though.
Right.
7
means perfection.
Perfection.
Mm-hmm.
So we're filming this the week before Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So God willing, I'll get this out on Halloween.
Yeah.
So the good reader and I thought it would be a great opportunity to chat about the Orthodox, do I want to say angle or perception or ideas about Halloween?
Sure. That's probably good. Like
and then
an Orthodox discussion about Halloween. Yeah.
All Hallows Eve. And then also I wanted to chat, we chatted a little bit, but maybe we can talk about vampires, werewolves,
yeah.
Saint Vlad, the Impaler.
Oh, saint.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's a saint in Romania?
He's locally venerated. Yeah. But he's not canonized widely.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get into that.
Sure.
And many other things.
Yeah.
On episode 7. So our priest, he chatted a little bit about Halloween today.
He did.
But I'd like to ask the good reader, right? You have some children. I don't want to dox you too much.
That's all right.
Coming from a Protestant background.
Yeah.
How do you have that conversation, not only with fellow Orthodox, but maybe even family members who have kids that are like, all right, I make the joke. It's like, all right, I'm going to take my kids and go to strangers' houses, knock on the door and get, being an naturopath doctor, I could say small amounts of poison.
Yeah.
It's sugar,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
What did Father Matthew say? If you want to go out and be gluttonous. And
I want to participate in fantasy and gluttony. Yeah. And I think so one thing that's probably important to highlight is that like in general, like the Orthodox do not celebrate Halloween.
What?
Like
not at all?
Not at all.
But it's a Catholic holiday, right?
It is, which is interesting. Yeah, we that came about because of iconoclasm. Is that once iconoclast controversies going on, they're destroying, literally iconoclasm means the smashing of images, and so they were stripping icons out of churches, burning them, smashing them, like getting rid of all these sacred imagery. And with that, one of the many side effects was that a lot of saints were no longer being venerated or given as much attention as they normally had. And thankfully, the at least the Catholic Church recognized that's a problem.
So this is pre-schism, right?
Let's see. Yeah,
the Iconoclasm 8th century.
I think it's like,
there's
I know
2 of them, right?
Yeah, it resurged a few times, but yeah, it's pre-schism is probably the main bulk of it, but if not all of it, yeah. But so they created All Saints Day or Hallows, All Hallows Day, and Halloween is the eve, right? The All Hallows Eve, which eventually just turns into the word Halloween. Hallow means sacred or holy, right? And so that's something kind of interesting. In English, we have a word that means saint and a word that means holy. But in and I'm sure anyone who's an expert at like Alexandrian Greek would be able to correct me. But for the most part, both in Russian, like Slavonic, and in Greek, the word for a saint, you don't say saint so-and-so, you say holy so-and-so. So that's actually why some people mistakenly call Hagia Sophia the Church of Saint Sophia.
Oh, okay.
But it really, because the name Sophia means wisdom. And so there is a saint, there are many Saint Sophias, but then Hagia Sophia is literally the Church of Holy Wisdom, right? Or the Holy Wisdom.
Yeah, because we call the Theotokos the Panagia.
Panagia, most holy.
It's like all
most, right? Most holy. So yeah, Panagia. And then same with we say like the was it the Trisagion, where there's holy God, holy mighty, holy motor. In Slavonic it's Sviate Božja, Sviate Krepki, Sviate Viesmiertni, Pominu.
What is it in Greek?
It's Aios Otheos, Aios Iskeros, Aios Athanatos, Leisonimas. Right. So but Aios is holy, like Agios. And then
because I always thought, I've been to the Greek and I thought that they were actually saying but you know, a lot of the
Mhm.
letters are silent.
Yeah.
They're like just saying it quickly, but it is pronounced more
Yeah, it's a G, but like in Greek, it's very soft, like you know, like it's not g like in English, or at least you know, I'm no expert in these things. I'm just
We'll
a
get Father Patrick on soon.
yeah. Father Patrick could totally correct me on all of this, but yeah. So you would call, you know, instead of Saint Seraphim, for example, would be Holy Seraphim, and that's how they would, you know, that's what that word means anyway. Like saintly or saint is holy. It's like sanctified or yeah, saintly. Yeah.
Well, and even
So,
in the New Testament, they're calling the saints of the church.
mhm,
In that case, they're not necessarily like when we say saint, most often it's a what do I say, statement by the church that that person is most likely glorified, right? Like that person is close to Christ,
right.
he's in paradise,
Yes,
and
they're
most
holy.
likely this is a person you want to call on for intercession.
Yeah.
They're close to Christ,
Yeah.
you know, in
You wanna
paradise.
emulate them too in your life if you can. Yeah.
Right, that's our modern idea of saint, because that's a Protestant thing. Well, look at the saint in the New Testament, and when Paul's using that, he's like talking about the like the people who are in the church. Unless I'm
right. Yeah. Well, and the other thing, and this is kind of another, pretty much all of the early church Christians are actually saints.
yeah,
Because like, so that's the other thing, is him calling them saints isn't just, you know, because I remember growing up Protestant, they're like, oh, every Christian is a saint, you know, and so they're like, when Saint Paul says, you know, like greeting you and all the saints in, you know, Colossia or whatever, they're like, oh, that just means all the Christians. And it's actually like, no, he was confident that like these people are holy, like they have become holy. Yeah. And so it's interesting because so the Halloween becomes this thing of, all right, we've got this All Saints Day, and there's the eve before that. And you kind of see a similar thing like with Mardi Gras, which is like before Lent, where it's like, oh, okay, before we go to this like really holy thing, let's get crazy and party, which is not something that the Orthodox practice. I know there's some Orthodox people that like
I'll call him out, Jonathan Pageau.
Yeah,
he likes, and whether you disagree, he kind of has that idea of like, and Father Patrick, I had a question about that with feasting and fasting. I'm like, am I just supposed to fast all the time? It's like, we do have that cyclical cycle, right? Like, and I think Pageau's kind of comment is like, what the carnival used to be was the time where, okay, guys, let out the weird stuff.
Yeah. Get it all out.
And now,
and be prepared to,
you know,
as a preparation for
purple hair. Dude, I was in, Lord have mercy on me for judging, but I can remember being in a grocery store in Oceanside, and the woman, literally, she had pale white makeup on to the point of look like a clown. Yeah. I don't mean that in derogatory terms.
Sure.
She had pale white, bright purple lipstick and pink hair.
It's kind of clown-like, yeah. Which, and a clown is just like also a carnival exaggeration of all these human features, and that's why they're always comical and they have character.
Which is also funny how many of this really scary movie, the clown is so scary, man. So maybe we can kind of get into like, right, it's an It, the killer clowns. Did you see that one from outer space?
Yeah, that one terrified me. Right? They turn you into a slushie.
Yeah. There's another one. There was an Are You Afraid of the Dark one with a clown. He had to smoke the cigars.
Yeah.
They're scary.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember being a kid and like the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus comes? Kids are terrified.
Yeah.
Almost always.
Oh, yeah. I was one of those kids who was really scared of clowns. Like, they freaked me out.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's not, it's the uncanny valley, right?
It's the unfamiliar.
Human, but not, you're like pushing the edge of what's normal. Yeah. So there is part of that, like, and I can understand, you know, and appreciate the arguments in favor of it. I also know there's a lot of like Orthodox online who are very pro Halloween and celebrate it and try to argue that like, well, it's actually a Christian holiday. It's teaching kids not to be scared of like demons and stuff. But my stance on this, and actually this was also like, because one, the homily talked about Halloween, and then after today, and then after the liturgy was over, our other priest, Father Matthew, gave kind of an admonishment of encouraging everyone not to participate in Halloween. So I feel very safe saying it this way. I've also read, I need to find it because it's in Minsk or something, but one of their priests gave a talk about why he doesn't encourage people to do Halloween, and it's been translated into English. It's short, it's very good. And essentially the thrust of his argument is that you're teaching kids that these things are fun,
Yep.
and that they're not to be taken seriously. And then you have all of this like death imagery, skeletons and zombies and monsters and witches and like all of these things that we shouldn't take so lightheartedly. Like we should actually see this as something serious. And then some people are like, well, you can do Halloween, have your kids dress up as saints. And it's like, well, then at that point, you're bringing them down into the, like, the imagery.
Well, and the weird thing,
minds
and how much of the weird thing is then if the holiday is meant to be the upside down,
right?
And then your kid dressed like, because you see these girls who dress as nuns, very provocatively, and that's the other end that we haven't like. So it's like on one end, you're like, hey kids, I want to dress you up as demonic things. We're going to go around to the random parts of your neighborhood, to houses we don't know. And right, the old thing was that give me a treat or I'm going to trick you. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of like a threat.
You. Yeah.
So it's like,
you gotta, and some of that comes from, I don't know if intentionally or not, but it does come from the pagan relationship with the spiritual. Which is very often like, most of my background is Irish and German. And so the Irish, very often it's like, oh, you've got to set out milk or bread for the fairies so that they don't make your crops go sour. And so it's like an offering to these spirits of like, hey, we need to appease them or they'll wreak havoc on us. And then kids are like, oh, we're going to pretend to be these evil spirits and do these things. That's where like trick or treat comes from. I don't know if that's a direct, like, intentional thing, but that is the pattern that emerges.
And that is that thing though, right? Like how do these bodiless entities interact in our world is through other people. So you go, oh, it's just a joke, right? I'm just going to pretend to be that spirit. It's like, well, what does that mean? Right. Like you're embodying a negative entity, the pattern of the entity. We chatted today about Heath Ledger and the Joker. Like the dude became the Joker.
Yeah. Right. Lost his mind. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. Lord have mercy. Yeah.
Right. And the method acting thing. That's a slippery slope, because that's, the word in persona, which means it does mean person, but it actually means more like mask, literally. And that's something you see in other like pagan rituals, is you'll often have like a high priest put on the mask of the entity
for sure.
and actually do like probably some psychedelic stuff as well, and like oracles and things like that, where they will like become a vessel for this bodiless power to speak or do things. There's some really disturbing stuff when you talk about like Nephilim and all that, and how the Nephilim are conceived.
Well, in all the horror movies, we should probably have a horror like Michael Myers,
The Mask,
Scream, all of them. You even see that in Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Right. His persona. He puts on a mask and he becomes someone absolutely different.
Yeah, it's literally in the movie, it's Loki, the god of trickery. And it's like, you're essentially letting him take over you, and then that removes all your inhibitions, and you become exactly like who you
smoking.
Yeah. Exactly. So it is one of those things. Like one thing that's tough with my kids is, they see every Halloween, we turn our lights off, make sure that my wife will even put out a little sign like no candy, sorry. And our kids sometimes feel bad about like, oh, that looks so fun. I'm like, I understand, but I've explained to the kids and they seem to get it. It's like, well, we're Orthodox, like we don't do this, like because, and we'll drive around and see, like my neighborhood goes ham with all the holidays, but specifically Halloween.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like more than Christmas, more than Halloween, we sell it. We have this death.
Yeah. People put all these spooky things in their yards, like animatronic.
So my neighbors,
right?
There's like literally go above and beyond. There's like skeletons in their yards. I told you what I wanted to do is like, hey, $1 million Orthodox idea. I told you like I wanted to put it on my roof, right? Saint Michael on top of the devil, or it could have been a zombie. You can throw up Saint George there, or Demetrius, or or Alexander Nevsky. Like our warrior saints showing like, we, and even Christ, like
make no peace with evil. Destroy it. Right. Yeah.
I we've talked about that one depiction, which I don't believe it's 100% Orthodox.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more Renaissance style with Christ and the second coming.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you see Zeus and like Poseidon,
Uh-huh.
and it's like Saint Michael's coming out, and then all the pagan gods are being like crushed.
Yeah, being crushed
that?
and falling. Yeah, like
it's Christ like coming with the cross, and then
Mhm.
Saint Michael here, and then all the
Yeah.
angels are coming out and just like wrecking them.
Right. It's the
Yeah.
triumph of Christianity over paganism, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, and it is like, it's important for, I think, I keep bringing up the kids, but I'm a dad. I have a bunch of kids, and
I'm still looking.
yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah. Hit him
Little
up.
plug.
Yeah. Yeah. True. But yeah, the like, it's important, like starting early is like making sure that your kids start to understand like the spiritual reality of the world. Like, and there's like, for example, like I'm against some people will, and this is just a personal thing. I actually don't know where the Orthodox really stand on this. I doubt there's like an official position, but is on like Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never did any of that with my kids because my attitude towards it was like, if I'm telling them a nice story, even like that's a lie, are they going to like, because there's, it's a cringy like Reddit tier post, but there's those people like, oh, my parents lied to me about Santa Claus. They lied to me about the Tooth Fairy. And then I found out they must be lying to me about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, no, but you're establishing this pattern of telling, even if it's like, well, this is a nice story that like is worth practicing because it's happy.
Well, let me ask you, because I remember even before coming to Orthodox, I think that was something in the naturopathic world. We have all kinds of, I think traditional ways of living, and that's, coming into what is truth, and it's funny because I've had a friend, that's like, well, what are you gonna do when you have kids? Are you gonna do the Santa Claus thing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, obviously I'm not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
What would you think about the idea of telling your kids, hey, society plays a game.
Yeah.
This is a game. This is not, there's no guy coming down the chimney.
Yeah.
But it is a representation of not only St. Nicholas, but in the ultimate way, right? We talk about icons, that the veneration of St. Nicholas obviously goes to Christ.
Right.
And that is who Santa Claus is, this embodiment, right? Of St. Nicholas and tithing and helping people.
Brings gifts and joy.
I don't know. There's just something, that was before I was Orthodox, I'm like, well, I don't like, because you're saying I can understand that it's different. It'd be hard to alienate your kids from, everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
So everyone else does a lot of dumb things, guys.
True.
Like we're okay. That was an area that I had contemplated. Yeah. So would you say, no, that's a dumb idea? Okay, maybe, No,
I mean, I think it's important to, Blessed Seraphim Rose said, like, you can't, if you just totally divorce yourself from the culture, then there's a point where like you become irrelevant and you're not helping anybody.
Fair enough.
So there is that, like, it is good to know this. And I actually think Santa Claus in particular is a really good example of kind of spiritual reality, where you can point out like, there's no physical man who is Santa Claus who lives in the North Pole, but yet all of these people vest themselves and dress like him and then act as if they are him.
He's pretty real to me.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Whether or not his flesh, and then that is a way also, this is an interesting thing when you think about pagans and atheists, and it's an extension in allowing them a roadway into Orthodoxy. Like, kind of like with Jonathan Pajot, he really takes these ideas like, well, you understand this as a secular person because you celebrate Christmas, you celebrate Halloween, like atheists, people, you go and sit in line for 3 hours to see the new Star Wars. Like, you don't think that's worship? Like, what do you think you're doing? You believe in some form of metaphysical, transcendent idea, and you're willing to sacrifice part of this life to go engage in it. What do you think? And it's like, do you know what we do on Sunday? That's what we do. It's called the liturgy. And it's the ultimate form of reality, because you find meaning when you're doing those things. And so you see that, and that's the hard part when we look at Halloween and Christmas, and like you're saying, to like the idea with the iconoclasm being removed, even from a Jungian perspective, because even Carl Jung kind of had this idea with like astrology, and it's like, well, it's just a projection of the unconscious into the stars. It's like, but God, as an Orthodox, like, God, those things are written on our heart, and this is how we're supposed to participate in society. And so you see those as like those are the valves for them now. That's all they have.
Right.
Right. We had the Everon icon here this week, which is a
There
miracle,
is.
guys. So if you haven't, we can chat about that.
Yeah.
I think most people have known a little bit. I just put a video up on my channel
from
a couple years ago. The Everon icon is an icon originally. How did it end up on Athos? Do you remember the original one?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember that story of how the original Everon icon ended up.
I know it. They threw it in the ocean or something.
Yeah.
It floated. And
yes.
then the one monk like walked out on the water and picked it up or whatever. And
because even the way it was floating was weird.
And it was like bright, I think too.
It was shining and it was upright, even though it's a flat piece of wood, it should be floating, you know.
And I think there was one monk that they're like, he has to go get it.
Yeah.
One of the abbots.
Yeah.
So, but long story short, there is a
print
reconstruction
mounted on an OSB or whatever, like, you know, cheap particle wood. And it miraculously streams myrrh.
So it's sitting there, guys, and literally like this icon, it looks like it's condensating on a window.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting there and it has a bright fragrance.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go watch my whole video. Literally, you can just Google it. Father Nectarius' story is phenomenal.
Yeah. Everon is Iveron. Yeah.
We had that in our church this week.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a literal miracle, guys. Like we talking
right
about like
in front of you.
Yeah. Like this thing is sitting there and you can try and whatever science, And we had that with the other saints, right?
Yeah.
I have some myrrh from Saint Demetrius.
Mm-hmm.
There are other icons that do it.
Right.
And you see that as they don't have that. So they're like, you talk about engaging in fantasy. There's some type of need or want that we have for transcendental, metaphysical things that don't make sense.
Right.
We love that.
Yeah.
The force.
It's a human thing. Yeah, exactly. We have this longing for the higher spiritual reality. We need this. And we can, you know, our culture has in America and in the West in general has kind of, we're the age of materialists and rationalism. And we've just tried as much as we can to kill any sense of the spiritual, but then we still just long for it. So,
and that's why you can understand why they want to dress up and do the Halloween. We dress up all the time. Investments.
Yeah,
you're in your reader investment, and like we see that in the hierarchical liturgy.
Yeah,
like we watch them get dressed in a very weird, strange way. But you've chatted about this. We haven't done an episode on armor.
Oh yeah,
right. Like how cool, that going into war. Right, you had different guys that colored their armors differently. We see this. That was one of Constantine's main thing was changing a symbol.
Yeah.
Right.
And all the shields of his legion put the Chi-Rho symbol on there instead of whatever their symbols to Mars or and that's another, again, a lot of these like little cultural things that unless like something else Father Patrick brought up was like the parable of the sower and the seeds, where it's like you wouldn't have to explain when the man goes out to sow his seeds.
Yep.
To everybody knows this, but it's not, explained in the parable because everyone would know, is that like you only sow your seeds after like the ground has been watered and broken with iron, right? Like it's been plowed, it's been like all of this. And then the fun part happens where you get to go and fling seeds around and enjoy.
And harvesting too.
Yeah.
Everyone's right. That's the story of the ant and the grasshopper.
Right. Yeah.
Which is funny. I think, right. King Solomon uses ants all the time.
Right.
Look at the ant, you sluggard.
Yeah. Go to the ant, you sluggard.
Yeah.
And Proverbs.
So it is sad that, we can see why these things happen and why, like, dude, I love fantasy, right?
Oh, yeah.
You like Tolkien, Warhammer.
Yeah.
Like, we can go down the various. And I think also, though, from our perspective, we see reflections of the saints in those things, right? Like when we chat about Lord of the Rings, it's like Aragorn. He's that guy.
Yeah.
Right. He's that ultimate human reflection, because we see that in the saints that they take it all the way.
Yeah.
Right. Like the St. George, or go down the variety of different saints and how they play that out. And we live that every day. We're venerating we're seeing a St. George. Right. So it is weird then you see in the world how we have this compensation. Like guys want to dress up, girls want to dress up. Like it makes sense because they want to imitate something. And right, like once you pull that out of the world, like from a young, where does it go? It just doesn't disappear.
Yeah.
It literally goes inside you and it causes subconscious wreckage.
Yes.
And then you're changing your identity.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Because you invite these other things in, and in a way you start to lose yourself, right? Like it's, you see, I mean, honestly, you could kind of calling back to Heath Ledger and like but like method actors in general, a lot of them end up with issues because
Yeah.
they get what I've heard other actors call it's character bleed, which is where the persona that you're playing starts to bleed into who you really are, and you start to actually like experience these emotions and feelings and thoughts, and then you have a hard time finding yourself again.
Well, and how is that also not just natural, right? You know, as a kid, you're like, oh, I want to be like Batman. I want to be like Michael Jordan. I want to be like all, you know, we have the saints to fill that gap, right? I would say God wrote that on our heart. Ultimately, Christ is the ultimate. But he's also Christ.
Yes.
Right. What does Paul say?
He's the God man, right?
Yeah. Like I can't walk out and maybe I could if I could get out of my own way. Right now, I'm not walking on water anytime soon.
Right.
But you see that in the saints. And it's like we're called, right? We go in every day when we're venerating these icons. It's in a way like I don't know how to explain that, but I love looking at a picture of St. George.
Right.
Like this is what I'm trying to imitate.
Yes.
Right. And like what's funny today, I don't know why we have St. George, obviously the Theotokos, and that's St. John, which is like kind of a theologian.
Yeah.
Right. Both martyrs, martyrs in different ways.
Yeah.
But both two awesome saints that we are called to imitate,
right,
and become like. So how can I not have, when you are right who you're around, and we believe that these are real. Like, so St. George is here with us, you know, right? We have St. John here, obviously the Theotokos, right? Christ is always with us. We have all the amazing prophets,
the Holy Forefathers,
right? Which is, there's so many different ways to imitate and learn so many different things from them.
Yes.
And that's what's weird that goes awry with Halloween. It's like, you want to imitate the Grim Reaper?
Yeah. Imitate death or whatever, like
Demon Slayer, Michael Myers, So I don't know how that can't be the case. And that's one of the crazier things about Orthodox. As I become Orthodox, that it's like God has written these things on our heart, and that's how it's supposed to be. Right? Father Matthew said that. He's like, oh, what's this like when you're scrolling?
Yeah. It's like a prayer rope, but
it's like, oh, and I mean, obviously you can take that extent to sexuality, cursing, talking, the way we use all these things. They get plugged differently and they go awry.
Right.
So it's tough though, when you talk to a secular person, like, yeah, you shouldn't celebrate Halloween. It's like, dude, there's something much more richer.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just don't do it and don't replace it with anything. It's that there's so much more to the right things to orient ourselves towards, and the right things to imitate, because it is like, and I'm quoting something Father Patrick said at one point, where it's just, you know, the saints through their life, through their sufferings, through everything, they become types for us. Like they like ascend to this level of like, now like St. George is, you know, the dragon slayer. He's become that archetype, if you will.
I was going to call you out on it. And what's also, again, which is strange, is it's always backwards. Well, it's both and, because I think we've chatted about this, that you kind of have that in St. Michael, right? Like the St. Michael and St. George, right? And then from George, you also have like an Alexander Nevsky. But like from that secular New Age idea, it's like, oh, the archetypes exist. And in a way, they're actually like superior to hypostasis or persons, right? The archetype embodies the person, right? Like in Orthodoxy, when we have this idea of the communion of the saints, like Christ is the ultimate thing, for lack of a better term. He is the Logos. Without him, none of the things. And so you see that kind of spread into these other types, and then those come into us. And you get what I'm saying? From the secular world, it's like, oh, there's just types that become people. Do you get what I'm saying? Maybe that's a little woo-woo-y.
It's inverted. Yes. Right. You have that a lot. Like, or you kind of do the Jungian route where you're like, well, we have these sort of subconscious or unconscious projections that we put out on the world. And it's this very, well, honestly, like egocentric attitude of like, all meaning comes from me, and I'm projecting it out. And you're right, like it is written in our heart, but like it's also written in the very fabric of creation. Like God made everything. And that's something I this is a little bit of a tangent, but you know, I've been asked this a few times by my non-Orthodox friends who are Christians. They're saying like, well, why do you need saints when you have Christ? It's like, because I'm not God. And
it's not
and I don't mean to, like, yes, we should imitate Christ, but there are things like I just can't.
He's perfect.
Yes, literally. And he's Christ is like the bridge between the created and the uncreated. He's he's the high priest. He's, we don't, in the Orthodox Church, we don't have a pope because Christ is the head of our church.
Yep.
Our patriarchs and our bishops are all, administrators.
And Paul
of
knows
all of
that,
this.
right?
But
Paul says that. It's like, hey, you guys, that guy, how about, and I hate to be that way, but it's like, you just started playing basketball. It's like, I'm going to copy Michael Jordan. It's like, how about we should a layup first?
Yeah.
Instead of, and that, and again, this is not to downplay, we should be intimating, but there are reasons. God gives us the saints for a reason.
Yes. Right. And they are this continuing example, and the fact that it's not, we have modern saints and recent saints and, most likely, Blessed Seraphim Rose is going to be he's already canonized in the local church of the country of Georgia, and he's most likely going, there's a lot of local veneration of him in America. Same with Elder Ephraim. And the thing is, they're constant examples of the fact that death has been defeated by Christ, that Christ has paved the way for us, that there's more people who live this way, who are glorified, who are purified, right? And that gives us hope. It's something that we are all called to be.
It didn't
saints.
end 2,000 years ago, folks.
No.
And that's what's so funny is most Christians will look at these people, the prophets, and say, wow, they're in the Bible and they did these things. And then, okay, Paul, Timothy, Titus. And it's like,
then just
go
nobody
silent,
else.
right? It's like, well, what about Barnabas? Well, actually, Barnabas is in there.
Yeah.
Ignatius is in there. Polycarp,
Dionysius,
Irenaeus, Dionysius.
Ignatius,
It's so rich to be like, no, it's still going, guys.
It still goes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's I don't know what else I was going to really add to that.
Well, so the Halloween conversation basically is like, hey guys, right? You don't want to say no, but you kind of want to say no. Be careful out there.
Right.
Be as vigilant as possible.
Right.
Most often it's not a blessed thing though, but talk to a priest.
Yes. If you don't have a priest, get one. And if you do have a priest, talk to him about this, because and often, for example, at our parish, we're doing a paniquita.
Yes, please
on the night of Halloween, because we should try to do something.
A paniquita? What? Yeah,
paniquita is the prayer for the departed. It's a special service.
Wait, isn't that what they were doing? Well, actually, they were doing saints, but Souls Day was the next day, right? That was Catholic, right? So you have All Halloween, and then you have All Saints Day in the Catholics now, because it's the eve of November 1st,
right?
And then November 2nd was All Souls Day,
so
the day that as Catholics they pray for people in purgatory, and
right. And specifically, we were doing a paniquita, and I think I'm trying to remember if it's also an Akathis to Saint Varus, but it's on Saint Varus's commemoration day, and he's specifically known as a great intercessor for those who have died outside the church, because I'm trying to remember, I don't know much about his story, to be honest, but there's one where he's another warrior saint, but he was also his relics were, I don't know about stolen, but taken by this woman, and she put his relics in with her pagan ancestors, because also she's the pagan ancestor worship is a thing. But it's for him to intercede for them. And so, that's something we're going to do is, liturgically, we don't commemorate the names in services. You should do that at home privately, very much so. Pray for those who have died who are not Orthodox. But like Father Matthew said, we're going to be doing the paniquita and praying for all those nameless ones. And he's like, and you will have names in your heart for come with them in mind and pray for them. So that's a much better way to engage with this day that kind of celebrates death, by praying for those who have died. And
that's how we celebrate. We celebrate death being defeated, right, with the hope of our loved ones who we asked to intercede for us. Right, that was one of my, I think it was Herman of Alaska, right? He was after Saint Innocent.
Yes.
Right. One of his stories is he's in a rough patch of water, and he's because he was a contemporary, right? If I remember right, they lived in the same time, or was Innocent quite a bit further before him?
Yeah, you put me on the spot. I actually don't know. I think they are contemporaries, though.
Yeah,
That's the
I think it 30 or
Yeah.
40 years young. You know,
Mhm.
I'm pretty.
Yeah, yeah.
I could be wrong. Please, someone correct me. But the story I remember reading is that, or hearing, I think I saw it in a YouTube video, that you know, it's something on St. Herman's like Father Vadik, or
Yeah.
he wasn't right. He was just a priest. I don't think was he a bishop? I think it's
Saint
became
Innocent? Yeah,
he
I
became a
think so.
bishop. Yeah,
Mhm.
because if I remember, he's like Vladika,
Mhm.
innocent. If
Yeah.
you have found favor in the eyes of God,
Yeah.
please help us on this ship.
Yeah.
And it's like the water's just,
Yep.
you know,
Yes.
which is
Right.
this is the continuation thing.
Mhm.
Like the saints, you
Right.
see that in a lot of the patterns of the saints, right? Wasn't St.
Mhm.
George buried for 3 days in quicklime?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Christ is he is allowing us to participate in the divine nature
Yeah.
and giving us the things like when he allows Peter to walk on the water.
Mhm.
So
Right.
if he can calm the storms and he has the power to calm the storms,
Mhm.
how is that not transferred to
Right.
us if that is his will and we're in alignment with his will?
Right.
That's what we see with the saints when they're able to do these,
Mhm.
miraculous things.
Yeah, and how Christ even tells the disciples that you will go to do greater things than me,
Which was
is
weird,
weird
right?
for God to say
Yes.
that. Yeah, but yeah, and it's not just that God does miracles so we can all go, wow, he does, but at this, like with Christ, he's inviting us to participate with
Which
him.
was the purpose
Yeah.
from day one,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of people miss. Like God
Right.
has called us to be in communion with him.
Right.
That's what Adam and Eve were. That's
Yeah.
where they were. They were
Right.
in communion. They were in
Mhm.
proximity. They were very close to God.
Right.
Fortunately, we fell away.
Yeah.
And now he is allowing us to still come
Mhm.
back.
Yeah, he's rescued us through the incarnation, through his death, through his resurrection. Yeah.
And then we go and play Halloween.
Yeah. No, and then let's just play with demons instead.
Yes.
See how that works out.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, well, maybe two other topics
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, the story of kind of Halloween figures, we could get into that. Maybe we talk about horror first.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because I know you and I'll dox myself. I enjoy horror in a weird way.
Sure.
And the way I have always rationalized that is as a man, kind of like with the idea of Halloween, I do think within reason, it is okay to be exposed to things that are dangerous.
Yes.
Right. So part of me, that is one of the more contentious areas of even Orthodox, right? Like, why are you studying demonology? Why are you studying the enemy? Just focus on Christ, which there's lots of to be understood there, but also like, I kind of want to know what are the demon, I think a lot of the saints would tell you really just focus on Christ.
Yeah.
But we do have books on demonology.
Yeah.
We do have many. I just listened to one of Elder Ephraim's.
Yeah.
He had this homily on watchfulness and how he's like, I was up 3 to 4 hours and the demons and what they do to you and how they get in your head and how they try and trick you and all these things.
Right.
So part of like when I'm watching horror, I think what I'm trying to do is figure out, okay, if I'm confronted with this thing that is very scary, do I have the ability to engage in it with a way that is Christ-like?
Yeah. Right. How do we, I agree. Because I also enjoy the horror genre. I'm pretty picky. Like I don't, slasher things and stuff are not that entertaining for me. And I try not to watch it too much out of entertainment, but there is I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it from an entertainment standpoint. But yeah, it is something that's worth, like, real good horror movies actually tell a lot of truth about how evil works, right? Like,
so let's you and I watch Nosferatu together.
Yeah, Robert Eggers, movie Nosferatu. Very disturbing, but very good. Like effective.
I want to give you one other thing.
Yeah.
Should women watch horrors as much as men? I know this sounds weird. I'm going to be sexist, and I think that there's part of that masculine role to be exposed to things because that's our job, right? Like I need to study wolves because when wolves come to the door, I need to be able to kill them, right? As a woman, I will expose you to, like, they have that more intimate connection with children.
Yeah.
They're a little softer, which we need.
Yeah.
Right. And so as a male, I feel like it's more my job to learn how to shoot. It's more my job to do these things. Yeah. Because she's way better at these things.
Yeah. That's a great question. I don't know that I'd have a definitive answer. I would say in general, I would kind of lean away, like towards saying it's agreeing with you.
Like I'd say, do you want your daughters or your wife to watch as much horror as you?
No. Yeah. But I do think that they should know how it works. Right. Like that's the thing is because like, for example, in Nosferatu, in some ways, like that movie, it's very erotic, but in how would I say this? Like mostly in an appropriate way, where it's pointing out the dangers of like your passions. And they even have like Willem Dafoe's character, who's this sort of occultist.
Well, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
It's about, give a little bit of an overview. I think it's based off of Dracula,
right?
Which is we should also chat about Vlad, but maybe let's chat about Nosferatu. Give a little overview. Maybe we can dissect it and then move over to Vlad.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Nosferatu. I mean, the original. I think the word Nosferatu means undead.
Okay.
And it's like there's that original like 1920s German film.
It's a quiet one too.
Yeah, it's a silent film called Nosferatu, and they wanted to make their own like Dracula like story, but couldn't because of copyright reasons. So they kind of made their own like Count Orlok, and instead of Count Dracula, and it's on the surface very, very similar, but there's a lot of so that's the like kind of origins of this thing. But and Robert Eggers is one, he's a big time like cinephile, but he loves folklore and legend and all that stuff. I mean, that's why like the Northman and a lot of the stuff he's made, all of
he's
it's
done
like,
a couple one, The Witch, The Northman,
The Lighthouse.
He's doing a werewolf one.
Yeah, he's doing a werewolf movie. He did The Lighthouse, and all of it is infused with like folklore, legend. What I appreciate is how much he takes things seriously, like all of the spirituality. He kind of treats it as if it's all real, which I think is helpful. Makes his movies extra potent in some ways. But so yeah, in the story of Nosferatu is this girl essentially makes a pact with a demon when she's very, very lonely, because she's like the very beginning of it is she is scared at night and she cries out to any spirit that'll help her, and Count Orlok hears her and answers, and that scene is very like
erotic.
Yeah, it's very erotic.
Yeah.
Like
and
without being pornographic, it's just you understand what's going on.
Well, and in that case, she is right. What is it to like in the Bible when it says like Noah knew his wife, or usually to know someone means to be not only intimate but sexually connected to them, right? And so there is that pact with the demons. We see that over and over again. Like sexuality is a huge way that demons get into us.
That's why many pagan like festivals and things involved orgies and all sorts of weird erotic stuff. Yeah. But yeah, with that, then it, time goes by, she's married, in this happy marriage, and they still kind of imply that like she tries to make her husband late for work by like pulling him back into bed. And he's he's even like, oh man, what did I do to deserve such a tempting wife? And he's like, I have to, like, I'm late, I have to go. And so you just have that passion is very deep in her, like has a hold on her. And yeah, the rest of it's kind of very similar to like a demon possession story, because it's about this girl has this connection to this and they make the Nosferatu, the Count Orlok, very demonic.
Yeah, COPD.
Yeah.
And you don't know how old he is.
Right.
And so I think where are they
and
at?
He has a pentagram cut into his skin.
So are they in France or Germany? Like
they're in Germany.
They're in Germany.
They go to Transylvania, which was part of hers.
And that's because he's like working with banking. Yeah. And then this guy, right, wants to move there.
Yeah. They're like, oh, there's this count from like the older country who wants to buy real estate, like move here. And you're going to go help seal the deal.
You're going to make a lot of money, kid.
Right. This will be your key to promotion.
Yeah. So it's her husband.
Yeah.
Her husband is a broker or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
I think it's like law and finance and something.
Yeah. Because he's got to go there to get and they're like, hey, this is your deal. You're going to make money. And then he has to leave her alone.
Yeah. And so she stays with their friends. And while he's gone,
is his brother-in-law? They were just friends.
They're just buddies. Okay. Yeah. That's the impression I got. I think they went to school together or something, but
we're sorry, we're giving spoilers too late. Like,
oh, well, yeah. I mean, this is still all early.
Yeah.
So, if
we're going to spoil it.
We are going to spoil the movie though.
Yeah.
So yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things that happens, he goes out there and meets with Count Orlok, and it's shot so well. It's so like uncomfortable and demonic. And he sees these like the local Romanian people, they're Transylvanians at that time, like, and they go find a corpse and impale it with a stake, and just tons of blood gushes out, and so he's all very like freaked out by
because
how
he's like on the way there, and he's at the inn, and he starts having nightmares too, right?
Yeah,
and there's
this
local
influence.
people,
Yeah,
and they're like,
don't go to that castle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then on the way to the castle, there is an Orthodox icon, right?
Right. Yep.
On the way.
Icon. Yeah.
So before he gets to the castle,
path, kind
right?
of. Yeah. Yeah. And when he goes in, it's very similar to like, Bram Stoker's Dracula, where, he goes to Dracula's castle, and like Dracula in the book, he does before he goes in, he's like, enter of your own free will. And so it's like, it's this, then that's an important thing he holds over him later, of like, you chose this of your own will. And that's, like, Orlok even makes him sign this very obviously like demonic looking document, and he's just like, I can't even read this. He's like, oh, it's in the language of my ancestors.
And it was very well shot. It was very disoriented. Yeah, right? It was dark. The chair was moving. Come sit by the fire.
Right. And it never focuses on him. Like the camera's blurry.
And I don't remember then they did all the flashing scenes. Like, did he get bit? We don't know. Then he had these demonic dreams.
Yeah, right? He does end up getting attacked and fed on.
Yeah. But it's not obvious, right? It was like flashing around, and it's like he gets close, and then he wakes up though.
Yeah. He like,
and he's like,
yeah. Well, later it's when he finds Orlok in his tomb.
Well, so he wakes up, and then he's going around the castle
during the day, and he's not there, and he can't get out. He's trying to figure, like, he's basically trapped there, and finds out that like, that thing he signed over his wife to this demon. And that's kind of an interesting theme, or I don't know, something that's buried in the movie, is that when he's with her, she doesn't have these like demonic episodes.
We forgot to say that, right? As she starts traveling, she starts having these ESP moments with Count Orlok, right? He's like coming to her in the night, and there's like, she's having weird like seizures. Her friends are like, what's going on? Get the doctor. And I don't remember, is that the point where William Dafoe comes in, or is that still later? Yeah,
they end up bringing him in still before her husband gets back.
And he's like an esotericist.
Yeah.
Like, he studies all forms.
He's an occultist. And he does. They even have him, he's trying to do alchemy, where he's like meditating, and he's like, oh, the stars aren't right. So this gets interrupted. And so he was like, oh, he's this like medical doctor who ended up becoming an occultist. And that is something, there's another YouTube channel I'm going to plug called the Tabellion by Gravantis. And he's a good friend of my godson.
Yeah, he did the Nosferatu.
Yeah, he did a really good video about Nosferatu. I recommend checking that out, because he really explains like the Orthodox approach to it, and how he points out like, ultimately they decide they're going to go with
the occultists.
They choose the occult over, and this is the one thing I did want to bring up. One of the reasons why a lot of Orthodox really like this movie is because so while his wife's getting worse and worse, like her demonic affliction, there's again, it's very like erotic, and she's kind of having these weird waking moments, and she's moaning and doing all that stuff,
weird stuff,
and they don't know what to do. Like, they think and this was kind of neat, is that they're trying to approach it from like a medical, like a rationalistic materialist standpoint.
About that,
for a while,
hospital and using medical doctors,
and they just can't figure out,
give her more drugs. Right? They were drugging her, which we know that opens up the noetic realm even worse.
Yes, I like how you explained, like, when doing something like ayahuasca, you're basically blundering into the noetic realm drunk, and just every spiritual entity can be like, hey, come with me this way, and you have no way to discern what you're interacting with.
It's the night at the pub, man. Come and do shots with us. Like, who are you? What do we do?
What's going on? This sounds fun.
Yeah, you can't. And that's what he does good in the movies, like it being in those places, and that happens in dreams too. Right? You've been in a dream, you're like, I would never do that. Right? Like, you're like walking down the street, and some guy's like, hey, let's go party, and you're like, all right. You get in a car with some random person, like, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, but in your dream, you're just sort of. That's what we do. Yeah, and so back at the castle, he does end up escaping, even though he gets fed on multiple times. He does he keeps remembering that ritual he saw with the Romanian people. So he does find the tomb, like the sarcophagus, and he opens it, and of course it's like right at dusk. So it's like Come on, bro. Have you seen the movie before?
I know. He's got the stake and he's like all hesitant, and then you see like Count Orlok has that. I don't know if it's just a pentagram. It has even more. It might be like Key of Solomon or something, literally carved into his flesh, and he's like rotten, and he has like his legs are just, there's like no muscle on them. They're like, completely emaciated bone. Yeah. And but yeah, then Orlok ends up standing up, of course, before he's able to stab him with the stake, and he gets chased down, and
he falls in a river.
Yeah. Well, he gets fed on at least one of those nights. It's a really disturbing scene because Count Orlok's just lying on top of him, and there's that sucking sound because he bites you over the heart instead of the neck, and he's just gulping. Yeah. Which is like, oh boy, however much blood that is, like you're not gonna last long. But yeah, he ends up.
We could talk about that blood, right? Because it's actually funny, not to. In the Orthodox Church, right? Most organ transplants, again, talk to your priest, but most often those are not blessed.
Right.
And, even one of our priests has gone as far as like with blood donations. He's like, well, the soul is in the blood. It's like you're giving blood to and like, again, he's said that. He goes, hey, I'm not saying it's not blessed. I wouldn't do it kind of thing. And so what is that archetype, right? Like what blood do we take today? Right. We took the body and blood of Jesus Christ.
Right.
So you see these vampires going to young people, and you see this in Hollywood with adrenochrome. I've used platelet-rich plasma, but that's my own blood. But you can imagine then your blood is full of nutrients, right? And so you can understand then this is happening more and more. There's the one guy, Brian Johnson. He's like a really anti-aging transhumanist.
He's trying to live forever.
He takes his 19-year-old son's blood and takes it.
Right.
What is that, bro? You're a vampire.
Yeah.
And then if you remember Kim Kardashian, a lot of people in Hollywood, they were doing vampire facials. They were using their own blood, and I think it's just kind of rage bait, clickbaity. But from a spiritual perspective, right? And it's the same thing with eating meat. And this is my plug where people would give me a hard time for not eating my steak rare. But now I'm like, well, it's because I'm Orthodox. And I don't want to eat the blood of the animal. Right?
Sure.
Even that is right. The verse today, one of the readings today in Galatians or Hebrews, I don't remember which one.
Eaters of blood, right?
He talks about the priest bringing the blood into the church, right? And how that used to be used. So that's not insignificant. Maybe we'll chat about the other archetypal Halloween characters, but there's something to be said about a man sucking the life force out. And it's almost always a woman too. And they have both of them, actually. There are some female vampires.
Sure.
But there's usually
it's a man.
There's usually a lead man, and then he has lots of females who then go and do his bidding. Right. That's Van Helsing. Right? I think there's one, right? Doesn't he has the flying they're not
the movie Van Helsing.
Yes.
Yeah, which is that's a total original
Hosh-posh.
They're taking, Abraham Van Helsing from the Dracula novel and being like, what when he was a younger man and this stuff.
And then what's it Lilith? I mean, you've heard that of Lilith.
Yeah.
There's I think it's more Talmudic Judaism. Believe that she was like the first
Adam's first wife who was too uppity or something, and so then he got Eve, which is definitely not an Orthodox understanding at all. Check that out. But yeah, it is interesting because there's a lot of I know a lot of women who are either their parents are really into that stuff, so they'll name their daughter Lilith, or women who take the name Lilith, or a big thing that's very common is a lot of trans people, like who are male to female, will take the name Lilith as their. And
we're not bashing on everyone. Just know what names
mean stuff. So pay attention to that. Yeah, that's all.
So I was just harping on the idea. It's like, wow, what do we do?
Yeah,
and then there's something with the Eucharist is kind of that getting rid of that pagan idea of
it's the final
cannibalism
bloodless sacrifice,
right? And it's the only real you're participating in the creator of the universe.
Yes.
Everything else is nil.
Right.
Why would you even think about that? It makes it actually, not only is it already sacrilegious, but it makes it extra sacrilegious. It's like the only participation we have in consuming is the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Right.
So any other time I would to participate in vampirism would be a inversion of that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. It's upside down too, because it's, very often this is why, part of the reason why the fasting rules are the way it is that it's don't eat things that have blood.
Yes.
Except sometimes you're allowed to have fish, which fish do have blood, but they're a much lower form of life if you want to think about it that way.
Just cook your steak well done, like me.
Yeah, where you just fry all the blood out of it.
That's why I do. I put ketchup on there.
But yeah, I think and that is like, if you're Orthodox, we're not supposed to eat blood, like, even, which is interesting because you have a couple cultures that are even culturally Christian, like the Irish, where blood sausage and stuff like that is a thing. And a lot of that's driven by poverty, where it's like, well, if I kill my cow, I don't have my cow
Blood
anymore.
duck soup.
But if I can bleed it a little bit and get some of those nutrients in,
and then
my pudding,
what's
black
it,
pudding
the
and stuff.
Masala tribe out of Africa? Something with an M, and they just like literally drink cow's blood
with milk usually. Yeah, they mix them together, which is interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of that, but yeah, eating blood is very much not.
That's not blessed.
Not blessed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that being said, I like my steak medium rare. So it doesn't mean you can't. At that point, well, it's been bled. It's all just meat juice at that point. But yeah.
I just want to highlight on that, vampire, like you can see this, and as we go maybe through some of the other archetypes, and it makes them younger because they're fearful of death.
Right. It keeps them from dying. Right. It's this thing, like, in order to do it, they have to feed off of life
to maintain life. And where Christ has died and resurrected.
Yeah.
Again, exact opposite of like what's going on there from a symbolic perspective.
Right.
And realistic.
Yeah.
It's real. The real presence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. He literally is there. In a very profound way. I've only had glimpses of that realization, and it's terrifying in a good way.
Well, and if you actually read the pre-communion prayers about, like, it's cold, like it's going to burn, like,
I am thatch, partake of thou who art fire. Right. So, like, scorch me not. Yeah. But
and then we get what's awesome, then we get the Orthodox plug in the movie. Right. He falls in the river and
he ends up throwing himself. I don't know if he throws himself off or he falls, but he ends up falling off the castle wall into the river, and these nuns find him. And I love, this is like, all the Orthodox love this part because Robert Eggers being so authentic, like, these nuns, like, there are so many things, like, so they bring him into their church, and they have a priest there, a male priest, because that's the only kind of priests that we have, and he's sensing him with the censer, or I can't remember if it's the censer. He's putting holy water on him, I think,
for sure, maybe both.
And they're praying for him and doing and then because he's like catatonic at this point, because he's been fed on by this demon. There's also this, like, he has this just
he's neurotic, right? He's literally his noetic realm is jacked. He can't tell reality from blah blah.
Right.
I think he was having some flashbacks of his wife too, right? I think there's like, and it doesn't. That's why the movie does a good job. Of installing the hallucinations and the insanity.
Yeah.
Right.
And then this is something that Gravantis points out in his video, but, like, the only moment in that whole movie of real healing and deliverance happens in the Orthodox Church.
Yep.
Like, he gets, prayed for and blessed with water, and he comes out of this, like, demonic despondency and this, like, catatonic state. And then they have a schema nun, which is super cool to see. Like, I know it's an actress. And
what's a schema nun?
Yeah. So it's like, there's in monastic orders, there's the little schema and the great schema. The little schema is usually worn underneath their monastic habit. And I mean, I only know some of the superficial things, but it's basically, when you go from a novice to a monk, you take the little schema, which is like in a lot of ways, it's your monastic vow. It's the burden. It's it is a cross, and it's the promise that you have to fulfill, like, live this monastic life. But taking the great schema, and I know different jurisdictions do things different. Well, I say jurisdictions, but, like, different local churches have different practices. Yep. The Russians only give the great schema. Usually you have to be very close to the end of your life, and you're usually very old when you take the great schema. But the Greeks, they do that one way, way earlier. And then I know, like, there's this video that went viral or semi-viral recently of this guy driving around in the mountains of, like, Georgia or Serbia. I think it was Georgia. And he just happened, like, he's riding like an adventure bike off-roading, and he runs into a schema monk. But he's a very young looking schema monk. His beard's still brown and stuff. And he's like, where are you going? You can't go this way. Follow me. And the monk just, like, leads him through and is, like, moving, like, branches out of the way and shows him the way out, which is really cool.
Wow.
And the guy was just like, man, I think I found a wizard or something. And then everyone who knows what that is like, dude, you understand how blessed you are to have encountered this man? Like, yeah, that's awesome. So, because he was living by himself, because usually if you're in the great schema, I mean,
so that is a high level, someone who's been a monastic for a very long time.
Yeah, it's considered just second baptism, right?
Like, and statistically speaking, that person's probably pretty holy.
Yes, right? The idea too, part of the taking the great schema, is you are considered a living icon of Christ at that point.
Wow.
And so a lot of the time, monks, when they're on their deathbed, if they haven't had the great schema yet, they'll be given the great schema right before their death. Like, he was Abbot Seraphim, but he became schema archimandrite Pantaleimon right before his death.
Was it did Constantine, aka Kirill? Is that right? Kirill Methodius, wasn't he? Was Constantine? Was he? I'm sorry, random thought.
I actually don't know, but I would
took another name.
Yeah, right? he. That's why, like, we always remember Saint Cyril and Methodius, the teachers of the Slavs. But Saint Cyril, his name was Constantine the whole time he was doing that, and right before his death, I can't remember if he was a monk before or after, because usually my understanding, so when you're baptized, you get your Christian name. When you become a monk, you take a new name. And then when you get if you get the great schema, you take another name. So you can have 3 names, in your life. Just like the same with getting tonsured. You get tonsured when you're baptized. You get tonsured when you become a reader, so you're initiated into the priesthood. And then you get tonsured when you become a monk. Okay. You're initiated into the monastic life.
Okay. Sorry for the sidestep.
No, it's good.
So schema monk lady.
Yeah.
Right.
Schema nun.
Yeah. Sorry.
And she's lady. Yeah.
And female. Sorry.
And I like too that she's
like talking to him. She's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, stay here. Right.
Yeah. She's saying a bunch of stuff to him and I forget the name of the language. It's like the earlier language of Romania. It starts with a D. It's like, I can't remember the name of the language, but it's cool because
someone
again, very authentic.
Chat GPT and put in the comments.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
or if you know it.
Yeah, and it's even, I think, on the like Wikipedia page for the movie and stuff of what language it was. But so she's speaking in that language, and there's this young novice nun.
So she was translating.
It was translating for him and explaining, like, you have to stay here. His power, like, can't breach the monastery grounds, and
take that.
Yeah, and
Count
Orlok. Yeah,
you can't mess with the Orthodox.
Right. And she said, they even say, like, oh, well, like when he was going to die, he made a pact with the Dark One, meaning the devil, like to, keep him alive. But basically, in order for him to do that, he has to constantly feed on people, right? Like, it's this unlife, right? I have to eat the blood of other living things in order to
I have to sacrifice things to myself,
right,
instead of God, right?
Yeah, you become your own God, which is a horrifying thing to be. And so they're like, you need to stay here and recover. And he's so worried about his wife because he knows what Orlok wants to do to her. So he's like, I have to go. So he ends up leaving the monastery. And it was that funny thing where, like, did you learn nothing from that? Like, why didn't he immediately take his wife back there?
We had said that, right? And he woke up, and I think it had actually been a couple days, right? I think they explained.
There was a lot of time went by,
and then he's like, "What? I have to get home." He get right, and he kind of takes off, and
then the travel back is long. And
you're like, "No, dude, stay at the monastery. Go get your wife, go back to the monastery."
But then they have that threat where, like, when Orlok does get to their area in Germany, he causes this plague of rats and everything, and he's like, if you because her husband's even like, we need to
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, we'll pause.
Keep going.
Okay. I can keep talking. So when he gets back to the Count Orlok is spreading pestilence and famine and all this horrible stuff, and he's threatening that, like, if you don't fulfill your promise to me, he's talking to the girl, like, all of these people will suffer because of you. So even if she were to run away and hide in the monastery or whatever, he would take vengeance on all the people around her, the people that she cares about. So her conscience really couldn't bear that. But anyway, I do think the film does a very good job depicting kind of the demonic reality, because something else, by the time they get Willem Dafoe's character involved, he's this, occultist, but he even points out that, people who struggle with like their base passions, like, lust and gluttony, are more susceptible to influence from the demonic, which is very true. That's like the Orthodox understanding of it too, is that we're influenced by our passions, by our appetites. Yeah, welcome back. So
my kidneys don't move, so everything just.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Where did you get? So will you get back?
Yeah.
The rest of the story. Is there anything? The rest of it kind of sucked.
Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of the point. They even have like I was talking about how Willem Dafoe does mention that people who struggle with like base passions like lust and gluttony are more susceptible to demonic influence, and he's the one who's like, this is demonic, and even his like scientific colleagues are kind of like, no, and that's something that I'm trying to remember the line exactly, but Orlok mentions like he likes Germany because everyone's so rational.
Yeah, German idealism at that time. Like, they're not even going to imagine that the plague was caused by me.
Yeah, right. And they don't believe, so it's just so much easier for him to operate because they deny the spiritual realities of things. But yeah, I was mentioning too, or getting to that point where when Orlok does start appearing to her, like manifesting in the flesh, he says to her like, I am appetite, right? Which is very much like very, very correct in a demonic way, right? Yeah, that's how the demons try to influence us, is by inflaming our passions, and that's how they'll try and access these things. There's even and I'm worried for that actress because she did such a good job. Yeah, to where she's, frothing at the mouth and like convulsing and doing all these things. And yeah, the climax of the movie, the end of it, is it's very sad because this is the occultist solution to it, is like, oh, you have to give yourself to the demon. And delay him, like keep him occupied long enough so the sun can come up and he'll die. But she dies too. And that is how the original Nosferatu movie ends. But it's very, very sad, because the thing I really hated about that too was that they just tricked the husband into thinking that, oh, you can go kill him in his coffin. So let's go do that, when they know that's not
William
that's
Dafoe
not even,
and who's the other? They kind of
the doctor.
After everyone's dead, the whole city's torn asunder from the plague. His family and friends have died.
Yeah, the little girls get killed by Orlok, and the wife dies, and then his friend like
goes crazy. He dies too, didn't he?
Yeah, he's infected with the plague, and he goes to their tomb. And that was really hard for me as a father. Like just how. Yeah, I can't imagine having my family ripped away from me like that. And then, he, he pulls his wife out of the coffin to embrace her, and then he dies with her in his arms, and it's very, very sad.
The ending sucked.
Yeah, I know. And you even have Willem Dafoe tries to, because he's talking with the girl about it, and she explains like, she thinks,
he encourages her, which is the occult angle,
right? And he even says, in a different time, you would have been a great priestess of Isis. And give yourself to demons. That's
she was a great priestess of Count Orlok. Is what she was.
Yeah, literally gave herself to the demon. Sure, the demon in this story like died as part of it, but demons don't die. This is the like the occultist attitude of like, oh yeah, you've got to like
physical well, and even modern people, there's still the objective materialistic part to the demon. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Like they're actually bodiless. And correct me if I'm wrong too, from a demonology, right? These are all fallen spirits. So I've heard this. I don't think it's Orthodox. I kind of feel like maybe I did hear one person say that there is in the same way we become saints, there are people who are so evil.
Yeah, they become demons.
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, that's actually, this one's a little bit questionable, but as far as, is this like Orthodox teaching?
Yeah.
But there is in the scriptures, like I'm trying to remember, it's in the Old Testament, but it's all those like Nephilim kings basically make a pact where their souls are able to like plague mankind, but in a like they think they're getting a good deal, but what it is to help bring mankind to God.
More so down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is like a quick little side tangent, but in that vein, something that I really love about Tolkien's writings, because in the Silmarillion, he talks about the creation of the world, and you have Iluvatar, who is God, like creates all the Valar, who are the angelic beings, and you have Melkor at the time, or Morgoth. And if you don't know anything about the Silmarillion, like Sauron is just a little minion of.
Does he even exist yet?
Yeah, he's one of the Maiar. Well, actually, he's probably not there at the beginning.
Yeah,
but,
I don't think. Yeah,
but yeah, they have Melkor, who's the greatest of the Valar. Tries to they're creating the world by singing it into being, and he keeps adding like discord into the melody. And the thing that I think is brilliant about that is that like my father's a musician, and I have a lot of musical people in my family. Unfortunately, I didn't get that gene. Just ask our choir director. But I can chant real loud. That's yep.
That's all you need.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was like, so I had a lot of at least music theory knowledge. One of the things that's interesting is that when sometimes you'll intentionally, as a composer, you'll have discord into a melody so that you can bring it back. And there's this catharsis, this satisfaction, this beauty that comes from the correction of the discord. And so it's this thing where all of the demonic chaos and things that they try to work on the earth, all of that does is bring more glory to God at the end, because all of this gets brought back and healed, like made right. So yeah,
good luck, demons. You weren't winning.
Yeah,
you aren't winning.
They're not. No,
sorry guys.
You're not gonna win. You never did. Yeah,
because then on the other end, then maybe we can shift over to talk a little bit how good Vlad the Impaler.
Right? Oh yeah,
it's funny because we have isn't he the modern like Dracula? Like,
well, he's literally in a lot of ways the word Dracula. So his name is like Vlad Tepes, and his if I'm pronouncing it right, well, I say Vlad, it's Vladimir, right? Yeah. And then but he was part of the Order of the Dragon, or Dracul, right? And so that's literally like Vlad Dracul is part of like one of his honorifics. But yeah, he was a like modern day like Romanian, but if we were to I'm trying to remember his actual, he was not Swabian or something, but yeah, and he and his family like grew up under Ottoman control. His younger brother was forced into a harem and used.
What's a harem?
Yeah, it's basically the sultans or other great like Islamic leaders would have just a whole stable of women, and often boys too, to just sodomize right? Like their lust on. Yeah. And so Vlad wasn't involved in that, thankfully, but his brother was. And so
and what's the difference between that and a janissary?
Oh yeah, so janissaries, they make me really sad. What a janissary is, they were like the elite fighting force of the Ottoman Empire. And what they were Christian boys intentionally like taken from their families, indoctrinated, and forced to convert to Islam. And they had a lot of laws, like they weren't allowed to marry and all sorts of stuff, but they kind of made them into these fanatic Spartan-ish like type warriors.
Well, I thought sodomization of them was like part of the process. Maybe I'm wrong.
Not that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't, Turks, I wouldn't be surprised. But that is like it's extra sad because these are all boys who were Christians. They were baptized, they were taken from their families because their families are enslaved, and and then
that's like mostly Balkan region, I assume.
And Anatolia and like all of the Asia Minor area. And they're turned into a weapon that they get pointed at Christians. And they were like the most fanatical, because you get that a lot with converts, but especially like you indoctrinate these boys and put them into this elite military unit and like train them and make them like extremely loyal.
Well, and Islam does a good job of that because of all the heavenly rewards is very, I hate to say that, toxic masculinity is very much rewarded.
Oh yeah. Right? Like being vicious and violent, and they
Strong,
consider
powerful,
Yeah,
aggressiveness. Not
right.
that those can be used as good, but
Yeah.
they're more so in a
They're
power hungry universe.
distorted into something wicked. And they're even, like the fact that they call any of their guys that die in battle, they call them martyrs. We're like, that's completely
that's not how that
inverted from how
Yeah.
the Orthodox and the Christians consider a martyr. Martyr is someone who dies for their faith, who's usually tortured and suffers for their faith. If they're not killed, we call them a confessor, right? But a martyr is someone who's been like who by God's grace is able to endure all of these suffering. Like the great martyrs like St. George, like endured tremendous suffering through the grace of God.
St.
And
John
ran
did
the
too?
race.
He's technically a confessor, right?
Yeah, he's a confessor. He's not a martyr.
And they tried every which way to kill him.
Yeah. My favorite one is when they tried to they forced him to drink hemlock like Socrates, and he just did a sign of the cross over it and then drank it and didn't die. And they're like, okay, you go to exile.
I got a weird tangent. Then we'll get back to that. It's funny because how much have you went down the Rasputin rabbit hole?
Not that much, because it's hard to find good, reliable information. But it is interesting because he was very close to the royal martyrs, and so it's like I don't know, but
so
everything I know about him.
I found something about John of Kronstadt was
Mhm.
about it.
Oh, really?
Like that said good things about him. I really respect St. John of Kronstadt.
Yeah, of course.
But the reason I bring that up is what was the movie they did? League of Men of League. They did a movie about Rasputin. It's a modern one.
There's a couple,
like League of Gentlemen or something.
Well, there's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
That, and they have that Rasputin in the second one, I think, right? There's I
didn't remember that they had a sequel. I just remember that first one. They have like Moriarty and Alan Quatermain and like vampire, like they have Mia Harker from.
So there's a modern movie where the CIA, like the British espionage and the CIA work together to take out Rasputin.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've seen this. Yeah.
You probably have. I'm just butchering it. But anyways, Rasputin's in the movie, and they do the. I didn't know this was somewhat historically accurate that they showed up, and they were actually three. Like Sergius was a prince. They were related to the royal family, and they were more so worried about Rasputin,
his political influence, and
especially on Tsarina.
Yeah, the Tsarina Alexandra.
And right, so they're the ones that had it, but they poisoned him. And he didn't die.
He didn't die, right?
So I mean, shot him a whole bunch. And then he did, and then supposedly he didn't die.
Yeah,
and then he fell in the river, and then they still found his body.
Yeah,
and then when they found his body, they said the way his arms and stuff was like he's probably froze under the water.
Yeah.
So I hate to say, I know he's a very controversial figure.
Yeah.
But when I looked at those things, I'm like, survived poison, survived gunshot, they still found his body. Like those are pretty rare circumstances that often happen to saints, and maybe the devil's using that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can have that too. I don't know, because the one there's a lot of and I've heard from some people who really like Rasputin have said like, oh, there's this huge like smear campaign of like all like saying he was this like tremendous womanizer and all this stuff that they think is not true. I just don't know. I haven't dug into the history. Like I am an amateur historian. I really like to dig, but I really prefer primary works, and it's very hard to find stuff, especially that happened right before the revolution. Then everything gets completely distorted,
like all the stuff's gone, and then and because the thing I was looking at is if it was Bolsheviks that did it, and it didn't seem like it. They were actually relatives. A couple of them were relatives, and one was another. So it was like
where they tried to assassinate him at the dinner, or they poisoned the wine and the cakes, and he was eating all of that. And didn't bother him at all. So then
they're like, well, and I just funny because I was reading something, and I think it was. I mean, it was a copy and pasted in another article that was quoting. It's like, we had put the poison in, and he was eating the cakes or whatever, like nothing had happened. So he's like, then the guy got frustrated and just shot him,
right? And
then he still lived. You know? That someone will help me with the movie, and I just thought that was funny because I thought that was all fabricated, and I was like, wow, that's from what we can tell an actual account,
right?
So. Sorry, back to Vlad.
Yeah. So, and this is something, that he's known as Vlad the Impaler because he would impale
and that's so. Sorry, I off-railed you to Janissaries.
Yeah,
you were talking about how his brother was
forced into a harem.
So he was sodomized, manipulated.
Right. Yeah, and so Vlad, I'm also not an expert on Vlad the Impaler's history. I have several things on my pile of to
Sure.
read. So, but that is what I do know is, the Ottomans definitely impaled people. That was a practice they did when they took Constantinople. One of the things they would do anytime they'd capture people, they'd impale them outside in view of
So
the
what's
walls.
impaling? And so they take
Yeah.
constant. So explain that situation, right? So they attack a city and they take it, and then what happens? I'm a
Well,
Christian and
yeah.
I'm sitting outside the city and I'm watching now, right?
Okay. Well,
Right? Isn't that usually how they did it?
well, often it was a punishment if you were resisting,
Okay.
right? Because if you just let them in, and surrendered,
Yeah.
then they wouldn't savage you too badly.
And that's like a threat. Like,
Mhm,
hey, we've
yeah.
impaled other people. Let
Yeah.
us in,
Mhm.
or once we get in, we're impaling you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So what they like in particular, there was one Mehmet the Conqueror, Mehmet the Second, or Mehmet is just Muhammad, but in Turkish. They had this huge chain across the Bosphorus so that you couldn't get into the Golden Horn.
So in the Bosphorus, Constantinople.
Yeah, in Constantinople. And so the ships literally couldn't get over the chain, right? Because it's a huge chain that's in the water, and it's pulled tight so that no ship, like, you'll run into you can't get over it. And so, and anytime they would try and get stuck up on the chain, they'd get hit from, from the walls or from the other Venetian ships that were in the harbor. And so, but then in one night, which is a Herculean effort, they actually dragged a whole bunch of their ships over land and dropped them into the Bosphorus or into the Golden Horn, right? And so then I've read some firsthand accounts of it where it was horrifying, and people were like rubbing their eyes, like, "Am I seeing this?" Like, they just wake up the next day, the chain's still there, but there's all these Ottoman ships
on the other side.
Which that's the weakest part of the wall, right? Is that the seawall area there, and so they were really worried about them. So they did some naval actions against them, trying to burn their ships, and a lot of those ships got sunk. And then the sailors that swam to shore got impaled in full view of the walls. And what that is, they take a very long spike, usually cut from a tree.
So who got impaled?
A whole bunch of Venetians. And Greeks, and anyone.
Hold on. At the time, Constantinople, this was under Christian control,
Yes.
Orthodox Christian control. They have the chain.
Yeah,
the
Ottomans
Turks
are impaling.
Well, and
Christians,
so the Turks literally move their boats to the other side. They attack. They're successful. They pull some people. Right. They get some prisoners of war.
Yeah,
and then they impale them.
Right.
In front, because they want to show them, like, hey, we got some of your guys. Right. And that's what I was trying to say. Right. Like, they did this as an act of, like, if I was fighting with you,
psychological warfare,
right? Like, there's Michael out there being impaled.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's really horrifying, because they would, strip you, strap you down like with ropes, so you're spread eagle.
Yeah,
and they would take a very long, like usually 20 feet or more, sharpened pole, and they'd have guys with hammers, and they'd ram that up,
through your rear end, all the way through your mouth.
Yeah, it'd either come out of your mouth. Usually it would come out of your chest, because people are convulsing.
Oh, yeah.
From the agony of that. Very, very slow, horrible way to die.
Yeah.
So Lord have mercy. The Turks did that to a lot of people. That's something Vlad grew up seeing.
Yep.
And so he turned it on them, and it's interesting because he's the one who has that, everyone knows of him as the impaler.
Yep.
And it's like, well, he got it from the people he was doing it to. Right. And in a lot of ways, you can see some of the things that were done to his brother. He's sort of enacting that vengefully on all of them. But yeah, a lot of people view him as like this bloodthirsty, villainous character. He's a lot more complicated, and I find him very interesting. Like, there's some really interesting stories about him, like interacting with his soldiers, and people are very loyal to him. So, and I know there's some local veneration of him. Some people think he's a saint. I don't know. I don't know enough.
Yeah.
The church as a whole doesn't venerate him as a saint.
No.
So,
and there was some other things I can remember, and I think I just watched some YouTube. Like, I'm a YouTuber, right? So these aren't primary sources, but it did chat a lot about the issue with the lords of the time. And this is one of the things where, when I look at that time period and what the Turks were able to do, all the way up to Vienna, like we've chatted about that when the Poles and the Hussars were leaving, with Cybulski.
I think Cybulski.
Yeah, he's leaving, and literally other Christians attacked him. So he had to turn around. He's like, I'm going down to Vienna, because all these Turks are coming to Europe. let me get the most amount of horses ever. We're gonna go down there and beat them.
Yeah.
He gets like 50 miles down the road, and then like another lord, a Christian,
makes a move against the city.
It's like, I got to run. And so to my understanding, I've heard that the Christian lords at the time had sold out Vlad and his younger brother.
Yes.
Right. And then so he's a very particularly controversial figure because of that, because then to my understanding too, he did impale some other Christians, which who were, he's like, you're the ones that put me and my brother in there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he didn't discriminate in some ways. Yeah. If it was, and it was like for him, he got this reputation of like, people were terrified of him because of that. Yeah.
Well, and it's like, then you can understand then everyone west of him was like, dude, that guy's a savage. Like, don't go over there.
Sure.
It is interesting. I don't know how the Count Dracula thing came out of that. Or do you, right?
A little bit. I mean, because he's known as like this bloodthirsty, like monstrous, legendary figure who's from that area, like Transylvania and like Eastern Europe. And like there, and then of course people would make rumors about him, like, oh, he like drinks the blood of his enemies and stuff. And so that's, I think, where a lot of that comes from. I don't think what really the whole like connecting Vlad the Impaler to vampire lore is something that Bram Stoker did in his Dracula novel.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't really, I'm not aware of anybody thinking of him seriously as a vampiric person. But it's more, he has this very brutal Eastern European like warlord reputation, and they're like, oh, let's, like, Bram Stoker's like, let's combine that with like vampire lore and kind of, that's why Count Dracula is his name's even, I think, Vlad Dracula or something, Vladimir Dracula, something like that.
Well, but it's funny, right? What's the quote? Most people, the modern quote is, fences make good neighbors.
Bad neighbors make good fences.
Yes, right. Because not funny. Forgive us.
It's kind of funny, but forgive us. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're running a little bit short on time here. I know. Maybe is there one other archetype you want to cover, like maybe a werewolf, a ghost, anything that in particular that you're like, ooh, the witch. Yeah. We chatted a little bit.
Good stuff.
The witch would probably be the one I'm most interested in.
Sure.
Because you have like the Lilith, the Eda thing.
Consorting with demons. Yeah. And actually, it's, for me, like werewolf is another one I find really, really interesting. So that's when I actually feel like I have stuff I could say about that. That is kind of like, you can see that as another, because like the archetype of the werewolf is like, this is a man who, like, when the full moon comes out, turns into a beast, right? Literally the word lunatic means the moon influences your mood, right? Or your behavior. But it is like, there's a demonic like possession sort of thing, but there's also like the unbridled like vicious passions, right? Like a wolf, like turning into a wolf at the full moon and like savaging people and doing stuff. And you even know, like, both from your background in New Age as well as just being a doctor, it's like
full moon.
Full moon actually does, like, people behave weird. The full moon.
I mean, the sun influences us. A sunny day influences you. If it's a rainy day, it influences you. It affects the tides. And women in their menstrual cycles usually lock up to the cycle of the moon. Right. So there's something there, and that's all not, St. John of Damascus chats about that in his book, about how it's true. There are patterns. They're patterns. The problem was when you get to the point of like being a werewolf, it's like, oh, it's a full moon, time to go crazy. Time
to go nuts and do stuff. And the other thing too is like the full moon is the brightest it's going to be at night, and night time is always when bad thing, people go who are going to go do bad stuff, do it at night because it's harder to be seen. But then if you can see really well at night with the full moon, that's also a lot of like pagan things with worshiping the moon.
That's on the full moon. The witches too, right? They go out and do their ceremonies on the full moon, right? You can see.
You can see at night, because back then all you had is candles and oil lamps, and it's like, if you ever try to do that outside, like with just candles and oil lamps, it's like dark. It's so dark. And I know, like, you can build a big bonfire or something and you'll be able to see like a 20-foot radius outside of the bonfire, but then everything else becomes darkness. So with the moon, it is this, it's like the anti-sun, like some people see it like the like more pagan thing. It's the dark, it's the anti-sun, right? It's the light that lights in the dark. So there is like the witching hour and all of that being it. I've heard multiple things. One at midnight, which is like the darkest time because the sun is the farthest away. I've also heard the witching hour is actually that time when the sun gives way to the darkness, right? Like at dusk.
I've always heard like 3 a.m.
Yeah, or that for my personal opinion is 4 a.m. because that's whether I have stayed up until 4 a.m. or have to get up at 4 a.m. That's the worst time ever to wake up because I hate it. It's
well, and then from the Orthodox perspective, I've kind of heard that when you talk about the four winds, the moon, like these are demigods that in a way can take God's glory, right? That's one of the issues with the pagan, right? Like the werewolf is worshiping in a way because it's you're allowing yourself to be controlled by this thing. And it's okay to interact with it, but once it actually starts manipulating you, like that's, we've heard that in astrology where she's like, I'm just so judgy, I'm such a Scorpio or whatever. It's like, no, you're just kind of a jerk. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. When people use their horoscope, their zodiac sign as an excuse to behave poorly or to behave in selfish ways. Like, oh, it's just because I'm, whatever.
Yeah. And you see that though, people end up giving the worship, that's the art, worshiping creation over the creator.
Yes.
And you've seen that in the principalities and the demons. And that's where the fallen ones they want that.
Yeah. They want to take the glory that's due to God for themselves. And that is the one thing I'm just for our more orthobro audience, like they don't take God's glory. They take glory that is due to God.
Yeah. You can't take God's glory.
You can't take God's glory. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, Satan tried to do that, and look what happened. So, yeah.
Another thing that's interesting about the werewolf, like you're saying, hunting wise on a full moon. What's hunting like on a full moon, Reader? Is that good or bad?
Well, so in the modern day, you're not allowed to hunt at night.
Really?
Yeah, unless there's some special like permits you can get and stuff. But
let me reframe that.
Yeah,
around the full moon, is that a good or a bad time to hunt?
Probably pretty good because the animals are way more active. Yeah. But the downside is they might sleep more during the day because they can get up and move around at night. And that's that amazing thing where animals don't keep a calendar, but they can sense these things, right? They know it's getting brighter at night. Yeah. And so they'll be moving around more during the nighttime. But
because I've heard that hunting wise, like hunting around a full moon can be they're more likely to be active. And even from a place of mating. And I know animals are a little bit different with the rut and that.
Yeah.
But that's something I'd heard. It's like, oh, it's a full moon. They're going to be extra active. They're usually moving.
Yeah.
I do understand you can't hunt at night, but there's a possibility of them being, and that is when women cycle with the moon, usually the new moon when it's dark is when they're going through their menses.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when the moon is full, they are ovulating. So it's time that they could actually conceive.
Right.
So, and then the werewolf goes crazy on that night, which is another like kind of.
Yeah. And werewolves are almost always like a masculine archetype, right? Like it's always a man, a wolf, like literally the word werewolf means man wolf, right? Were is a old English word for man, which is why it's always funny when people say like, oh, like, or a wolf that turns into a man is a wereman. Like you just said man.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah. But it is like the giving into the animalistic passions, giving into these like darker, like again, kind of, we touched on that with the Janissaries and Islam, but like the more toxic aspects of masculinity, violence and viciousness and violation and prowling and doing these things. And so also I could see just from a historical standpoint, it's like, I bet the youths get up to a lot more mischief and stuff during full moons. It's like, we can sneak out in the woods
full
and
moon, you go hiking at night. It's more likely for bad things to happen just because people are out. I've done full moon hikes, not even thinking it was pagan. I'm like, there's let's go look at the blood moon. It's like, okay, well now you're going to be out at 11 or like more likelihood of bad things. Just the way it is.
That's one of those things when I was still dating. Some advice I got from the older wiser heads are like, nothing good happens after 10 p.m. Like, so make sure you bring her home before then. That whole thing. To her home. To
her home.
Drop her off and then go away. So
go away.
All
right. Any more thoughts about the werewolf?
I think that's all I've got for now. You have
Cool.
anything you want to talk about with witches or anything?
Maybe next episode. We're running on time, aren't we?
We're doing okay.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a little bit of a shorter one today, but yeah, it's all
hour
good.
30.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the folks tell us what you want, peeps.
Yeah, please. More feedback is always welcome. Criticism, we're all open to it.
You criticize him. Tell me
all you want.
Tell me how good I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm not holy enough yet that I can take criticism.
I'm not either, but that's why I need it. Like, bust me down, please.
All right. We're fighting against each other. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the witch thing is interesting just because, I think I told you today in church, I was chatting with a gentleman and he was talking about the Slavonic words. And there's something about like the way you can interpret it. The story of Adam and Eve is that Eve is grabbing, we call it the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
And he had said that there's some way in plain words that it could also be false knowledge. Right. Which is, I guess, evil. And I've heard, what's Jonathan's brother's name? Matthew
Peugeot.
Yeah.
Who's not Orthodox.
No, but he has, and I don't know if this is Orthodox, that somehow that translation could also be not necessarily just good and bad. Like the knowledge and, like there's good and bad between a morality and objectivity between like right, this is a bad screwdriver. Right. It's not evil. Like my cell phone will not be a good screwdriver. Right. So there's kind of that differentiation because there's a moral claim when you go straight into evil.
Right.
And it was interesting though, because as he was chatting about Eve grabbing that, it was actually a false knowledge, right? And a knowledge that has not come from God, right? And so when we were talking earlier about astrology, you're talking about any form of witchcraft, and we've kind of played on women, and men do this too. But this is probably why this archetype is more so usually for women, is they make up stories in their head that aren't real, right? They're not logical. And that doesn't mean that there aren't tells, there aren't subconscious things. Like if a woman is suspecting, right, that her husband is cheating on her, he's 5 minutes late, you're cheating on me. Like women have a tendency, more so in my experience than men, being sexist, that they'll take an idea and just like, dude, what? I'm 5 minutes late and you think I've been having an affair for 13 years. And I'm leaving you. I have the bank account set up. I'm moving to Florida. It's like those a dead bunny on the side of the road and I, threw it off or whatever. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And but the issue is then with the witchcraft thing and sorcery in general is it can be right. But it doesn't mean that the source that it's coming from, like, a broken clock has worked right twice a day. So like when you do an astrology thing, and number one, they're always just very, very vague. But then from the point of like, oh, I read the tea leaves and they said that he was going to be sick. It's like, people get sick.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
I mean,
it is important to point out too, because I think like in the Acts, I think is when you have the demon possessed girl who can tell the future.
Yep.
And it doesn't say that she says untruths.
Yep.
Like, and I got to spend some time with one of our bishops, and he told me this really great story about St. Patrick, and where he basically had a wonder working contest with these druids. And so they were like, one of them was like, I can make it snow even on a clear day. And he does all his demonic ritual and he makes it snow. And the story is that until the snow is up to their chests. And then St. Patrick says, okay, now make it go away. And he goes, well, I can't do that until tomorrow at the same time. And he says, that's because you serve evil and not
good,
not good. And then he blesses the 4 directions and the sun comes out and melts all the snow and it all goes away. And then same thing on other ones, like, well, I can make it dark in the middle of the day. And he does his demonic stuff and darkness comes.
Yep.
And then St. Patrick's like, good, now make it go away. It's because you serve evil, not good. And then he does the same thing. And then the sun drives all the darkness away. And there's this thing, like there is like real demonic stuff that can tell the future, that can give the appearance of power, but it's all for the sake of deception, chaos, and corruption of the person and the people.
And it's strict. It's funny you bring that up because we can look at the 2 places in the Bible, right, that come to my mind. The one is with Saul.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I went down that rabbit hole. For those of you who don't know, right, Saul makes it illegal to practice witchcraft and sorcery. He's losing the throne to King David, and he goes to the sorcerer and asks him or her, right, to bring back,
call forth
Samuel. And what was interesting is, number one, there is something that comes up, right, that I think is even, and Samuel's like,
why are you disturbing me?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But you get, I was
Mhm.
like, is that really Samuel?
Mhm.
Honestly, unless someone can correct me, I went through several church fathers.
Mhm.
There's not a super clear consensus.
Yeah.
Is it actually Samuel?
Mhm.
Is it a demon?
Mhm.
Is it something in between?
Mhm.
Is it a projection of Saul's subconscious?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right? It could be Saul.
Mhm.
Or, I'm sorry, Samuel.
Mhm.
Could be a demon.
Mhm.
Because what ends up, right? I think it tells them, like, you and your son are going to die. You and
Yeah.
your family will die.
Right.
Right. Which
Mhm.
ends up happening.
Yeah.
And then it just could be his subconscious, it could be
Mhm.
him projecting,
Sure.
or a combination of three. But I just went through the church fathers because I wanted to be like, what does the Bible teach?
Yeah.
Because is Samuel then technically in the bosom of Abraham?
Mhm. Yeah.
Could he interact? Could he not?
Mhm.
Because I want to know, could a witch
Mhm.
like interact with a holy person?
Sure. Well, that's another important thing is the demons only have power that God allows,
Mhm.
right? So God, like all of these things are at God's will. That's something else that Saint Patrick would say, because the Druids would say like, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and he would say like, he says like, "I have no no qualms with what God allows," and then they're like, "Oh, look, I made it all dark," and it's like, yeah, because God permits your demon to do this.
Yep.
And so it's the same thing. I could see that in that, like, I'm personally in the camp that is Samuel.
Okay.
And I think it's because God allows.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
and he
you want to talk to Samuel?
Yeah,
fine.
Cool.
You can talk to Samuel.
What are you doing, you idiot?
By consorting with witches and doing all this.
And he's going to give you knowledge you don't want,
Yeah.
which is similar to the tree thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You want to know what's going to happen? You're going to die.
Right.
You're going to commit I think he tells me you're going to fall on your sword and your sons are going to die. And
your sons will die, like your house will fall, something like that. Because it is, and King Saul does end up throwing himself on his own sword. And that's with a battle with the Philistines, I think, was what that's coming up to. And his sons are killed, including Jonathan.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I think, and he tries to get his servant, I think, to try and kill him.
Right. Yeah. He commands his servant to kill him. He's like, I'm not going to kill the king. And so he throws himself on his own sword. Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
So that's one, right? Where there's some witchcraft going on. The second one I'm going to go to is with Simon Magnus.
Yeah.
Right. So he has this woman, right, an axe that is knowledgeable of things.
Yeah.
And so I've heard this a couple different ways, that technically the demons don't know the future, but they have such a plethora of knowledge of the past. They do know our past, and they know almost everything that's going on. Yeah. So in that way, they're just so much smarter. So they're going to be able to anticipate the future so much better. Like in that circumstance, like that. And that's what's interesting specifically about that passage is I'm like, if that's Samuel, he was probably given knowledge of the future by God. And that doesn't even mean that God probably in some way, shape, or form gives demons knowledge of the future if it's for his good. But the way that and I'm sorry, I'm bad at sourcing things. If it was St. Anthony, like I think he said something on, it's like the demons do not know the future. So like the sorcerers cannot tell you the future. But what they know is everything. Yeah. They know all of history. They know humankind. So they're like, Saul,
it's like an AI.
Yes. Right. So they can look at a guy like Saul, is like, well, obviously what's going to happen. You're going to be part of your own demise and your house is going to fall. Right. Like, you could have probably asked me, I'm like, at this part of the story, he's going to probably die. Sure. And everything that's going to go with him. So, and the cases of like with Simon Magnus and that, I don't remember. You remember the woman's name that?
Not off the top of my
head.
No,
so in Acts though, right? Simon right? He uses her to do fortune telling and all these different things. And then it's Peter or Paul?
Yeah, St. Peter.
Right.
I believe.
He's like, all right, get out of here. Yeah. And then they're like, we were making a lot of money on it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then and then again, so it's like you do see that, I don't think there's a vampire in the Bible. I don't think in the literal sense, not right? Or a werewolf, but that witch or wizard, right? And then we have the other famous story with Saint Cyprian and Justina, right? Yeah. So
he was this very powerful pagan sorcerer. He had all these demons at his command. Yeah, and he's trying to. This man.
So what? Yeah, right. Some guy comes to him and says, "I need you to make this woman Justina fall in love with me."
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And there's even like there's some implication of like, a lot of the witchcraft was working. Yeah. It's just that she was Christian and called upon the name of the Lord, and that's
so
what
the story is you have Cyprian of Carthage at the time, who was a sorcerer.
Yeah, high priest of Zeus or something. Yeah.
And he's doing all these, and this guy like comes to him and says, I need you to get this woman to fall in love with me.
Right.
He's like, no problem. I'll call up my boys, the
Yeah.
demons. They'll take care of this.
Yeah.
Goes after them. And then like a couple weeks later, the guy comes back and says, hey, what's going on? This girl's not in love with me.
Yeah.
So Saint Cyprian calls up the demons. Demons show up. He goes, hey guys, go get what's going on. Like, well, we can't.
Yeah.
She's protected by Jesus Christ.
Right. She
and
does
he's
the
like,
sign of the cross and they flee.
What do you mean? Right.
Yeah.
Cyprian's like, you guys listen to me.
Yeah.
Like, go back. And then demons are like, no, this isn't how this works. We're in charge. Right.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, you go, and they fight. And then the demons attack him.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly.
And then
he starts to insult them and say like, you
can't
don't
take
have
down
any power
over the
like,
Jesus
this
guy.
Little girl. Yeah. Like, and then they attack him and instinctively he does
he's
the
like,
sign of the cross and
like,
they run away from him.
And you think he's like, well, all right, well, if this Jesus guy worked for her,
Mhm.
hopefully he works for me. Makes sense. And then,
yep, they all run.
and then what? Like a year or two later, he's a bishop.
Yeah, right. He brings all his sorcery books and he gives them to the bishop. He's like, burn these, please. And then I would like to be baptized.
Yeah.
And yeah, very soon he ends up. I'm trying to remember if he was a bishop or a priest.
I think he became a. I could be wrong. I remember he became a priest very quickly, and I thought I could be completely wrong. But he's also one. I think that's late 200s. Like he's a pretty big church father. Like a lot of he's in Carthage.
Yeah.
So that's where you very little. Sorry, from our perspective of influence over in the West. Right. You get Augustine after him.
Yeah.
But very astute rigor. Like after that, he's like, I played with witchcraft.
Yeah.
Like I know what baptisms, right? He was very adamant of like, you baptize them. Like Arians, those are not Christian. Baptize them.
Right.
You know, in the area of the chrismating kind of thing. He was very adamant in the readings because I went down that rabbit hole. I'm like, what did some of the church fathers say?
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
and I know that was one area in particular, which makes me think like, and I hate to be like, that guy knows the noetic realm. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
like not to get into that, like the chrismation that like, we don't know. Right. I know you were baptized. I was baptized. And there are circumstances where that's
there
the
are
bishop's
circumstances.
issues.
It's totally up to the bishop.
But you get where I'm like, okay, noetic. And that's why I liked St. Cyprian too. Cause I've been in the noetic realm. I'm like, what does this guy say? Not that, you know, I was actually listening to one of Elder Ephraim's. It was funny because our priest and my confession said something about Elder Ephraim and being watchful, and you know that work, and in a good way. I open up my YouTube, I go Athonite audio, and here's homily, Elder Ephraim, watchfulness.
Nice.
And it was funny because when Docs George and Justin and I were at the monastery, and we were kind of thinking about, you know, I've had some spiritual warfare, like demonic stuff, and then you think about like, what was it like for Saint Joseph Hezekiah? Like honestly,
where he literally fought Satan in his cell. Yeah, he had bruises
fornication,
on him.
you know, or Saint Moses, any of these, you know. It was just funny because in that one video of Elder Ephraim's homily, he's like 3 or 4 hours last night. Dang, dude, you know, just like he's like, I could see them, and they're like, you know, you start off as a baby, and you kind of have like these senses. He's like, no, it's at one point, he's like, I can see the tails, I see the fire in their eyes, and these demons, and You're just like, what? Yeah,
it's gotta be terrifying. You would think, but
well, bringing things full circle that this real.
Yeah, it is absolutely. Yeah, it's that's something. I had a conversation just today with one of the inquirers at our church. He was asking about demonic stuff. And for me, this one is the easiest, like for people who don't know anything about that. Like, what do you think about addiction? Like when people are genuinely controlled, like possessed by this thing, and everything they do is in service to it. Like if you've ever known any people who are real junkies, where it's like,
bro, I went through the Compton. Let me think of how they said it. Compton District for Transgender. Compton District for Transgender. I don't remember. Yeah, and we left the cathedral and we went through a neighborhood of people that are hunched over, looking like, Lord have mercy on them, zombies. How do you get there? What is that? Why is that person? And this is the hard part, right? You can see how our free will can be manipulated because there's some way, shape, or form that person. It's hard to know. I don't want to make any judgment claims on baptism and what's going on there, but your heart aches. You can like, what is that? That person is literally slunched over. They don't want to better their life. They don't care about their health. They're literally just working on, how do I stay high?
Yeah. Right. That becomes your whole life. And I think of, how many people who are big time addicts, like they sacrifice
Everything.
every relationship they have,
Steal from their parents, friends, right?
all this stuff because I just need my next fix. Like, if that's not like, and of course it's easy as a materialist to point to like, well, the substance and the psychology and economic, factors or whatever, but it's like ultimately the thing that drives that behavior is demonic, right?
And we didn't get into the topic of what is demonic and what is psychology.
Sure.
Like in our modern world, oh, you're just depressed, here's an SSRI. And in my limited experience, like playing in all three places, right? Like I have a medical degree, I've done psychedelics, I'm in the Orthodox Church now, glory to God. And not only psychedelics, I have used some forms of psychiatric meds. It's like a Wellbutrin. So I promise, like, it's a non-typical, it actually uptakes epinephrine and serotonin, so it's not an SSRI. I try to use it for biohacking. Dude, I took one of those things. I don't smoke. But I felt so terrible. I'm like, the only thing that I think could get my mind somewhat back straight is like I luckily I worked for myself. I took one to try and biohack for energy. Felt so freaking weird, dude. So weird. And I literally went and bought a pack of cigarettes, and I went to a park and I smoked a cigarette. And I was like, and I felt a little bit better. Like I had to figure out a way to like, how do I offset this?
How do I get this?
I don't feel good. And they do that when you're drunk, like, have some coffee and whatnot. But talking about like, they're at least intertwined, but in the modern world, oh, you're just depressed. What do you think depression is? Like, how is there an archetypical, I don't know how to say it, entity, right? Like we'd say this with the pagans, like that's how they viewed Aphrodite. Oh, you're lust, like you see that woman and you're like, oh, I want her. Where does that come from? Was it me? And if I am a fully possessive person who is in control of myself, why would I see a person, a woman, hopefully, and be like, I want that? I know nothing just by beauty, and beauty has external reflections, right? You can tell like there are things on the outside that reflect the inside, but we know today more than ever, I would say that's been very much hijacked for sure. Like OnlyFans, like you can very much
surgery and all sorts
of
stuff.
Where it used to be like your external representation was or your external appearance was often reflective of internal, right? Like if you have leprosy or like, right, and then we know when you fast, tears you up, like that's why you're supposed to anoint yourself with oil so you don't appear,
you don't look all haggard and run down, because it's not about the external.
And then for us, we do transcend that, but you get where I'm like, why would I
where's this coming from?
Or alcohol or pornography, masturbation, money, like give up everything. Like, do you think about the whole, like, follow your dreams? And I did that, dude. I moved to California, like small town dream, like go become a movie star, go and like, naturopath, do all these things. It's like, why did I have that idea? Like, leave your family, leave the people you love, and go somewhere random. Ayahuasca is like, oh, you don't know what to do with your life? Like, go to another country, become
have a demon rearrange your brain. See what happens.
Become clinically insane for a couple hours, talk to some person who doesn't know your language or culture. I'm sure that'll help you. And there is that, like, when you travel, you can compare and contrast and like get a step back. But to the point that things have gone now, it's just ridiculous. And then, like I said, then when you tie that into psychedelic, because ketamine, a lot of these things are becoming very popular for antidepressant, MDMA, and all that. And I'm like, I've been down that rabbit hole. I just had a friend. I had a friend reach out to me 2 weeks ago. Hey man, I'm trying to do ayahuasca. Like, don't.
Please.
I can't even tell you where. Like, I would be liable.
Once
you go insane.
So Lord have mercy.
Protect ourselves. That's why we have the church. Closing thoughts on Halloween.
Sign yourself with the sign of the precious cross, right? But if you can, spend Halloween in prayer. Obviously, if you can, do the whole day. But go to church. If not, do some services at home. Remember, like, we worship God who conquered death for us, so that we can be with Him. So Yeah. Don't celebrate this sort of weirdly hijacked demonic holiday.
Yeah.
The
And we are
secular-
what we
yeah.
worship,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
we're trying to be.
Trying to be.
In a
God
way,
willing.
that is the weird thing. You're
Mhm.
trying to become that thing when you're worshiping it. So
Mhm.
glory to God. We
Mhm.
have these plenty of things
Yeah,
that we,
plenty of examples.
yes, all the worship goes to Christ.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
it is the image,
Yeah.
right? We didn't even
Right.
talk about the iconoclasm that much. So
Yeah. Next time.
maybe next
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
All right, folks.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Stay vigilant and God bless.
Amen.